And
I thought you were going to say you had 50 drinks, and I was like, "Oh, I'm
about
glad
that." Yeah, no, there was 50 people, 52 people there, but it was. I get excited, and I get all kinds of energy being a full-on extrovert. So all of a sudden, I'm saying, "Oh yeah, give me another drink. Oh yeah, give me," and all of a sudden, so my brain is still on a little bit of a slow motion. So anyway,
well, that's
all right.
Great way to start a recording.
Yeah, we're recording, so hopefully I may have to cut that part out. Okay. All right, Nathan, go ahead.
Welcome everybody to another episode of What in the World. And I think today we're talking about problems. Clearly, if y'all saw the preview of this, we got problems, and we're going to be diving into that. So I want to introduce our host for the day, Mr. David Roberts. David and I have known each other, good grief, it's been over a decade now. We worked together at a couple different businesses and partnered with a couple different things, and just keep coming back together and keep getting connected. And I got to tell you, it's a privilege to be a part of this team and a part of the movement that we're all a part of here. So let me turn it over to Mr. David Roberts, our host of the day.
All right, and Nathan, thank you very much. That was very, very good. And I will just tell you that Nathan is and Christine Deane, who are here, and I see we got Brad and Cheryl, but these folks are amazing in terms of their insights, and I learn something every day when I have the opportunity, or every time I have the opportunity to have a discussion. And as you know, on this BeeKonnected, what in the world, we're really, I like to have a discussion. I like to kind of get different people's points of view, and then we're going to go for 30 minutes, so we're not going to be beating this up forever. But we're going to use, we started last time talking, we talked about the two entry slides, if you will, in our overview, and I want to get into that. And again, Nathan and Christine, we talked about a little bit before, is the whole focus is not, we can talk about what BeeKonnected is and does and where we are in a company, but the more important thing, and I'm not saying that's not important to share that when we're having these introductory conversations with people, but I think we need to do a lot more, as we talked in previous episodes, and Christine is a rock star at this, and so is Nathan, in terms of asking questions and then listening for the response and then taking that forward, right? Not just saying, we does this, does that, move on, and so on. So we're not going to push to get through every slide, but I do want to make sure that as we're going through it, everybody that's watching the show, either live here like Brad and Cheryl, or in replay, that you are thinking about the questions that either the person you're talking to may have, or that you may have for them. Does that make sense? So let's bring up the first slide. The first couple I'm just going to ping through, because we already talked about those, and we talked about it being a simple choice, and we talked about all the platforms, and then we talked about the 6 now capabilities within BeeKonnected, and we didn't get into detail on those. And then the one we didn't talk about was the team. And there's another slide that talks about Frank Frausto in particular. But when you look at the team and you think of somebody who's now looking, and again, we're kind of focused on influencers, and you think of somebody that you're looking, I've talked to people about investing in BeeKonnected, people with very large organizations, and generally speaking, the people that I'm talking to, it doesn't take very long for they want to know who's behind this. Obviously, I've started to build a relationship with them, or you started to build a relationship with them. But when you look at, Tanya Hoffman, Johnny J.R. Reed, Frank Frausto, David Dubbs, I think you guys, we all know them from this context and kind of their success. What kinds of questions would you ask, or whether they're implication questions or needs value questions, what would you ask? I'm going to go. I always like to go ladies first if I have a lady on the show, just to be, that's the kind of guy I am. So Christine, anything pop out of your mind? You don't have to make something up, but any questions as you're thinking that they might have?
So your questions we might have the leadership team, is that kind of what you're thinking?
Well,
about the
questions
leaders,
in
or
the context of the company leadership. So we have people who have those attributes. We have Tanya, who's done and sold multiple businesses. You've got JR, who's built.
So I'm gonna grab this. I'm gonna say, David, it sounds like you're saying, what kind of questions do people have about the leaders of an organization that makes them want to jump in or shy away?
Right, exactly.
Is that kind of the conversation we're having here?
Yeah, right now, because what we
case,
want to anticipate. Yeah, we kind of want to anticipate where they might go with that. We don't want to just assume that they're going to be overly impressed. That maybe they will be, they should be, but what kind of questions would they have, or what kind of questions even that we would want to solicit from them relative to that with the companies maybe that they're already partnering with? That's
Yeah, so I'm going to make this more round robin. So Nathan, I don't know about you, but when I work with an organization, right, and you're looking at the leaders that you're going to be dealing with, where are they leading us, right? What are we looking for in a leader, right? And a lot of times is like their vision, right? What's their plan? Do they have a plan? Are they are you feeling like they're going to actually take you where you want to go? Do you have that kind of confidence in them? I think is one of the number one things that I look for. And so to answer that question, then you're looking at a little bit of their history, probably, right? Because you need more than just words, right? It's like, okay, well, they seem like a really nice person. That's great. But have they done this before? Have they taken something from, startup through an amazing adventure to a grandiose, right? So I think if we look at our leaders that we currently have, we can say yes. Right. We can look at them and say with confidence that we've seen their track record. We know where they've been, and we see where their vision is and where they want to go. And I can confidently say, yeah, we're going to get there. Right. Because we believe in that leadership because of their background. So, David, I know you know a little bit more about their background than I do, even. So if you wanted to.
Well, I'm going to kick it over to Nathan, because I know in his relatively short time, I mean, I've been here for 4 years, so I do have an advantage of having multiple interactions with all of those players. And there are questions that if they don't ask, you might want to seed those in the thing. But Nathan, what are your thoughts along those same lines?
Well, I think from my perspective, if I'm looking at leadership in whatever company, I know somebody told me a long time ago when I was a young entrepreneur, always have at least 10 questions ready at any given moment. I don't care if you keep it in your wallet, your purse, whatever, laminated. What are those 10 questions if you came across somebody that is more successful than you that you could ask? I think if you're going to get very specific, though, like if you go to, like, let's just take the BeeKonnected leadership here, right? If we're talking to them, and if I had a question, I might actually, and I hate to say this, I'm going to be totally selfish. I'm going to be 100% selfish whenever I ask these questions, because if I'm going to Frank and if I have 10 minutes with Frank to ask him some questions about marketing or, the direction and all that stuff, I want to be very specific on what's going to make the most for me that I can capitalize on that time that he's given to me. Right. And I'm just going to ask, I'm going to play the 90-10 rule. 90% of the time I'm going to be listening. 10% is going to be me asking questions, and it might be different. Like if I go to JR, that's talking like COO level, like it's more numbers, it's growth, it's initiative, it's those kind of things. And so it might alter my questions just a little bit based on their role.
Yeah, I think that there's a few things about the management team of any company, and in particular this. So when we're talking to somebody who is an influencer, right, and they're looking at BeeKonnected, they're not just looking at the features and functions. Actually, one of the questions I have is what would it feel like relative to, let's say, your comparison of using maybe LinkedIn as a platform, or Zoom, or anything else, and you've got a big influencer, you've got a big company, right? And here's people that I can put you in touch with right now? What are the implications of that? Have you ever had a challenge with, let's say, one of those other platforms that we have? And it doesn't have to be any one or the, I mean, just the whole thing. How much better would it be if you knew you had a straight line to people that could not only respond, but understand how to take not only BeeKonnected, but your business in the direction that you want? Because that's essentially where we're at here, right? I mean, there's a lot of things I think today with where all of these other platforms are at that we would love to change for our own benefit. I know, Christine, you work all day long on all the helping your clients navigate a lot of these other platforms. And how cool would it be with those platforms if you said, I can't really do this, or I've got to add another tool to the kit to pull this off, versus being able to just say, let's implement and let's integrate this into this integrated virtual conferencing meeting platform here. Let's add the feature. Can we do that? And have them say, yeah, that makes sense. That aligns with it. And we can do that, because that's kind of where we're at with BeeKonnected. So as we're talking to these people, the one side of it is they might have questions about, are you really going to be able to pull this off? All right. That would make sense. I would anticipate that. I would even, might even say, you probably wondered, do we have the chops? Do we have the experience? Like you said, Nathan, and kind of like, Christine said too. But let me tell you this. The answer is yes. We're not going to tell you no. So, but you look at these, their track record, and frankly, I can hook you up with them. But the bigger thing is here, we're putting it out there. We've got Frank Frausto, and then the next slide kind of focuses on him. But we've got Frank Frausto, who actually was one of the first, I think, 300 employees at Google when they, and he led creating the Google Partner Program. So our whole focus is on partnership. Does that mean something to you? Do you even care about that? And then shut up and listen. Do they care about that? Do they want to? Maybe they just don't want to be bothered. But again, as we're going through this, I think it's really important to do what I think Christine said. And I don't remember how many, we probably said it multiple times along the way, but this whole process of a question and then listen to the answer and then continue to move through the deck. Okay, so good. I think we've thrown out some things there. One of the things is the newest thing we're talking about adding, that sixth feature in there, is premium content. And when we talk about that, creating courses, paid membership groups, premium training, summits, and events, those are capabilities. And we're building a whole new platform, as we talk about, that's kind of like Netflix layout, swipe right, look at things. And I think, and having visibility to that, we see that's pretty cool. But when you're talking to somebody, let's say, well, give me two types of people that you might ask questions to. One is somebody who's already out there and has premium content. And then maybe somebody who has a large organization, has an aspiration to have premium content, because, by the way, I'm having conversations personally with both types. Mm-hmm. So Christine, what do you think about that in terms of questions when you throw up that slide? And I don't mean throw up. I mean, since Nathan's sick, I don't want to. But I mean, when you put up that slide, what kind of questions would you be asking the person that you're engaging with there?
Probably as an organization is how do I fit this into my organization that I already have? What is it that's going to benefit my organization, right? Because when you talk to, for example, like you said, we talk to people that already have courses and people that don't, but are intrigued by the idea and they see the potential and the possibilities, right? or how to best represent your organization, right? So when I'm talking to a chamber of commerce, when I'm talking to a networking group, right, maybe they want to feature all of the members in their group and give them a platform to do that within, under that larger umbrella, right? So there's a lot of ways you can run that. So the idea is, how is this going to benefit me specifically, right? And we really need to have that tailored for those organizations. So my question is, okay, so you want us to come as an organization, what are you doing to make it organization friendly?
Right. Nathan, what do you think? What's your thought on that?
My thought, I would probably spend some time finding out about their organization. I'd dive deep with them and go, tell me about your community. Tell me, what does it look like? How do you educate? How do you communicate to your organization? Like, are you charging for content right now? Is that something you desire to do, is charge for content? And have you ever looked at anything like that as an option?
Yeah. What would it look like? Let's just, here's a question that I might throw out to a chamber, for example. And most people understand chambers. There's also a lot of other groups like mine and stuff that's not a chamber, but I have a lot of chamber members in there. And those people could get potentially energized by the premium content for this reason. So let's say today, my question would be, some of the more advanced, network after work and some of these other networking organizations have now built out websites and capabilities to where their members can present to their entire network, and those members can make some money off of that. And a lot of times it's, Eventbrite, they've got their own back-end websites. There's a lot of development. So it's kind of limited in a lot of cases to people who've already made the investment. But what if, this is a question, right? What if we could bring the capability for everyone in your chamber that wants to be able to have some of their best practices, some of their tools, some of their online stuff, and be able to charge for that directly without having to add another platform, without them having to have a website, and create another value proposition, if you will, for the members of your network. That might be one. When it comes to also having the ability, a lot of them they have not, and I know we've all seen different groups like this, and you have bits and pieces of this, and usually it's more of a advanced directory, and here's who we are, and come to our meeting, and here's the calendar and stuff like, and none of that's bad. We have all that here, but also you don't have to go, you can be here. You don't have to say, okay, we're going to have this Zoom meeting, whatever. You're going to be able to be right here and meet on the platform. Would that have any value? What would the implications be? Or what would you see as a value? And if they say none, you're done. You just move on. But any other thoughts on that before we go to the next content? So the other thing is, does having, and this is an area where, as we're launching in the beta, so you can be very we are really viewing the fact that having the ability to interact and do all these things mobile is important. Now, Christine, I'm going to throw it to you first, because I know that's been one of the questions and things that you've been asking a long time. So let's pretend that we're going through here, because the app needs some work, and actually the website needs some work. And I'm all about not saying, hey, everything's perfect and what's here in the sales brochure is exactly what is. I think that's the fastest way to destroy a relationship with somebody that is an influencer, right? You've got to don't read the sales brochure, right? Be honest.
Dave, I always like to say, I always like to explain it this way, and I'll turn it back over to you, Christine. It's like, look, when you're building technology, you have to build it like you would a house. You got to have a strong foundation, you got to have a strong framework, and you got to have a strong roof. The details come later, but I would rather have a much stronger element that's holding the house together than the details which is most important, because then it's just going to crumble down later. So that's how I always explain it. But anyway,
Yeah,
sorry,
and so-
Christine, take it away.
Yeah. And I
Appreciate
like
what
the
you've got,
explaining.
and then you'll enjoy the perks as they come in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right. When you think of questions from the fact of having a mobile, so now you have something that people can engage with on their computer, and that's going to be the most robust part of it. However, now that they can do these things and access the content and do everything mobile, what kind of questions would you be asking that influencer or that organization about
Well, so
the
to me, that's a game
implications of the
changer,
value
right?
of
Being able
that?
to do things mobile, that makes all the difference in the world. You know, you've now taken the limitations away that you
Right.
may have had before, right?
Well,
So,
yeah,
I
no,
mean,
and I think most of them would recognize that a lot of them are using like the Facebook app, or they're using something else outside of their whole integrated approach, right? That they're trying to do to communicate with their groups and their chamber and hoping to get their message out. And I see them doing the same thing I'm doing, which is I still have a Facebook group, but I post something, as we talked about before, and nobody sees it. So the implications of that to them, if you post something, let's say you have a last minute change to an event, there's a, there was a Murphy event this weekend and they had to, pivot because of the rain, do some things, last minute communications, and you're trying to get the message out and not everybody sees it, and so on. Let me ping one. I want to hit one more because mobile is important, but I want to talk about this P3 system. And when we put that up and we talk about it, for one thing, it's generally interesting to network marketing, direct sales, affiliate marketing, basically people who want people to promote their business. So what kind of questions would you ask, or what do you think would be a good question to ask somebody? Let's say not necessarily that they are the corporate lead, but maybe they have 1 million people or 10,000 people or even a few thousand people in their sphere of influence that they want to be able to serve and basically get them engaged with it. What kind of questions would you ask them on that, Nathan? Go ahead.
This is a fun one I have asked, and it's got a good chuckle response. But what if you never had to train your downline on how to do a presentation again?
Yeah, great question. Yeah,
so,
what would it look like if you
and
didn't have to invest, not only, not have to train them, but you just think about what kind of time, what is the implications of that? How much time are you investing in that today? And what are the downside when they don't do a good presentation, or they don't show up, or they don't follow up, right? I mean, all those things are impacted by the P3 system. And then we can show them the next slide, which basically just says it's a flip of a button in our new implementation. But the first point, before you even go there, yeah, it's easy. Well, does it matter? Christine, any thoughts that you have on that? Because I think we're probably going to land the plane on the P3. So just so you know.
Yeah, the P3 is that we're talking game changer for any of the multi-level marketing kind of systems. That's been my background. Also includes Mary Kay, because I'm a girly girl. And so, the idea when you have an event, well, how do you know who sent who? How do you, and there would be this big list and you had to claim your people. I mean, it was this huge nightmare.
Mhm.
And then some people are like, the whole fear of abundance, they're going to take my people, whatever. So you eliminate all of that with the P3. I mean, it's just such a wonderful program. I really think anybody who has any kind of affiliate programs or multi-level, this is where you want to be. There's no question about it.
Yeah. What would it look like again if you didn't have to necessarily, you had it automated? Even when we were doing, again, still have residual income coming from an Amway organization that I did years back. And Nathan knows this because we worked together there, right? And so, Cheryl's got a Pampered Chef organization. We get some residual income from that. But the point is, in all those cases, even when we were meeting in person, it wasn't automatic. You still had to chase. Either you had to go chase those people if you were leading on behalf of your downline, we'll use that term. What would it be like if you didn't have to chase the people that your downline brought to the table? What if you could almost guarantee that instead of not making any money or not making the kind of money they hope to make in your business, that as long as they were willing to do what's right and you were willing to show up as a leader, you could make sure not only that you're successful, you are already successful if you're a leader, but how much more successful would you be if everybody here, when they did whatever they're going to do, you were assured that they were getting credit for that. They were getting the attribution, the immediate attribution. And you didn't have to chase that. They didn't have to chase that. That's huge. So when we were talking to Pampered Chef, what would that look like? That was the one that really set them off. Was, wow, I could do this big event, and they're doing huge events, like thousands of people on some of these shows. And it's great. So Nathan, any other thoughts you have on that? Because again, you have experience there.
Just on like the in-person events and stuff.
Yeah, just the whole concept of asking the right questions to those.
I think
leaders
there's
in
so
that
many
space.
the art of asking good questions. I mean, it's an art. It's really what it boils down to. And I think one I was going to bring up earlier was ask a statistic-based question, especially when we were talking about mobile. Don't be afraid if you know some statistics, drop it in there and be like, hey, did you know users on average spend 4.5 hours a day looking at their phone at their screens? Like throw some numbers out there. That's 70 days a year. So for your employees or for your organization, right? Like we live with these things. What if you could notify somebody, right? Even faster to make sure that they see it, right? So don't be afraid to ask statistic-based questions. But
I love that, because really, and we probably should have, would make that on the mobile side, because people, again, another question, what if those 4 hours a day or whatever that people are spending on their mobile device, you could pick a little piece of that with somebody that's really serious about building their business with this thing that they have, right? And they're really serious about building something, and you could show them how they could carve a piece of that out when they're sitting waiting for a meeting and stuff to reach out and build their whatever business is on yours. And they could do that almost organically, integrated to their world.
Yeah.
Really, really good point. I think we're gonna land the plane on that one. We'll come back again. This is episode 12. We're just gonna keep going with these 30-minute segments. And by the way, this will ultimately be right now it's in my community channel. It's going to move to the Warrior Networking channel, and it will be like a benefit for those people, because that's already a premium group, but it's going to be a premium group on the platform. And so people, whether they're here in Dallas or anywhere, can have access to this and more depth. We're going to get really deep on some of these. This is kind of like the discussion to get the ball rolling. But anyway, so thank you, Nathan. Thanks. Thanks for powering through the strep throat. Tanya says here that you were quiet, and so I'm kind of outing you there a little bit, that you're less talkative than normal. And
Thanks.
Christine, you're always awesome. And again, there's so many things that we can talk about, but the whole cue here, or the whole thing here, is let's ask good questions. Let's not just throw out there what we know about how great the platform is, but let's use the opportunity to really keep moving through this process of asking questions to the point where there's no sale. I mean, we can introduce them. We've already teed up, the leaders that we're going to connect them to, and they will care about that when you kind of ask them the right questions, and then move them on to the next step once they know that they've got some needs value answers that you've already given them for the platform. So thanks, guys. Again, we'll see you next Monday at the same, or not Monday, next Tuesday at 2 p.m. Central. And we'll be back for another episode of Be Connected. What in the world? Thanks, guys.
Bye, everybody.